right, welcome back, everyone, to Global Gaming Women's Fair Game Podcast, recorded here at the Light and Wonder Podcast Studio. My name is Bronwen Gregg. I am your Spotlight Series host, and I am joined today by fellow Fair Game co-hosts Kate and Anika. How are y'all doing?
Hi, Bronwyn.
Hi,
Wish
nice
you
to
were
see
here
you
with us,
digitally.
but
Yeah.
I know I miss you all. Thank you so much for letting me be virtual. I have a trip that unexpectedly was extended, so appreciate the flexibility, especially for Light and Wonder. Y'all are the best.
Yeah. And honestly, technology is cool, right? Like,
It is.
it's like she's in the room, her face, and like, yeah. So it's like you're here.
Basically, love that. Well, cannot wait to be back with y'all in person. But I'm so excited for our first Spotlight Series episode of season 2. Cannot believe we're already here. But as a reminder, the purpose of this series is to shine a light on the unique career journeys of women in our industry who have broken barriers, changed the game, found success through adversity, and overall serve as personal and professional inspirations to those around them. And really based on the whole concept of stories being permission slips, right? You never know when, hearing somebody else's journey might positively impact your own trajectory, right? It could become a permission slip after hearing what they've been through or what they've overcome. But we also just want to bring recognition, right, to the amazing accomplishments of women in our industry and the incredible impact that they've had. So cannot wait to bring on our first Spotlight Series guest of season 2. But Kate and Anika, when y'all think back to season 1, what do you think are your favorite takeaways, your favorite memories of the Spotlight Series?
I mean, I kick it off. I mean, I really resonated with Esther. I think that was the very first one. And I remember just the care you took with telling her story and how vulnerable she was. And it really set the foundation of the series and kind of the impact and really leaning into that vulnerability that you were able to just extend throughout the season. And I think her experience, her military background, and then kind of her journey into gaming, into FanDuel, was really, I think, a story that you don't necessarily hear. So I was happy to see you shine a spotlight on her and her journey.
Yeah.
Yes, totally agree. And thank you for the kind words, Anika. That was such a good one.
Yeah. I think we could probably name this like the Badass Lady series too, right? Because
Absolutely.
I think of Sue, who frankly, she just is always there. I don't know what it is, but she's always there. She's always trying to educate. She's always trying to be like, make yourself a better person, read this, do this, don't be afraid. I love that. And I was feeding off that a lot in her episode and kind of how she just never stops. Her ability to want to help others just never stops. I love that. She's definitely a big fan.
Agreed.
Could not agree more.
It's
I
almost
love
hard to
Sue.
choose one, Bronwyn. It's almost hard because all of the ladies kind of are so special and unique and have such interesting journeys in their own right. But yeah.
You're so right. You're so right. Yeah. And such good examples from last season. Definitely take a listen if y'all haven't already. I'll just add to, I think, Kylie's story, right? And the incredible vulnerability that she was able to share, but also how we actually were able to connect with her to tell her story, which was the engagement, about the podcast on LinkedIn. I think that was just a really beautiful full circle moment for the podcast. And then also just a really deep example of, being able to control your controllables in the sense of you might not have control over everything that happens to you, but you always have control over how you respond to it. Right. That's a choice that you can always make. And I think her story was just a great way to, bring that point home. Well, love the Spotlight series. So happy that we're getting to, kick this off once again for a second season. And I'm so thrilled with all of that said to dive into today's episode featuring the inspirational career journey of Alisa Doctor, Executive Director of Interactive Operations at MGM Resorts. And despite being told from a very early age that she would have limitations on what she could accomplish, she has had such an impressive career across a variety of industries: casino gaming, sports betting, hospitality, events, more. And I love her intentional mindset reframes and really resilient attitude, never accepting being told no or that she couldn't do something. So with that said, let's bring in Alisa. Okay, welcome to the pod, Alisa. We are so thrilled to have you joining us today. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here with you guys.
Yes, and honestly, I could not imagine a better guest, a better person to kick off season two Spotlight series with, right? Thank you so much for the vulnerability that you're about to share. I just have no doubt, and we as a whole have no doubt that this episode is absolutely going to serve its purpose and be a permission slip for so many. So, really looking forward to hearing about your unique career journey, the lessons learned. But to get started, let's begin at your origin story. Tell us about your early days through school and when you first started to experience the obstacles that you would eventually overcome.
Yeah, absolutely. So, growing up, there were really two things that felt very defining for me. First one being I was a massive tomboy. So, think baggy clothes, basketball jerseys, no skirts or dresses. That was very much just who I was and me. And the second was I remember a ton of academic testing. Starting from the third grade through high school, it was tutors, psychologists, doctors, special classes, extra time on tests, trying to figure out what was going on. I was tested from everything from reading comprehension issues to dyslexia to auditory processing and more. And as a kid, they don't really explain to you what's going on. So I'm sitting there, I'm thinking I have all the things, and I'm just, there was one common denominator. I just knew I was different. And that was really, really hard for me. In middle school, kids ask, those questions of what's your biggest fear? And, my answer was not one of those normal, afraid of the dark, I'm afraid of, heights. Mine was, I didn't want to get called on in class because I was afraid I wouldn't know the answer. So going through all of this, it was super debilitating and felt just so hard to navigate. So, fast forward, I think it was the summer of right after 10th grade, I was diagnosed with ADHD. And once I had that and I started to take medication, my grades jumped from a C, a low B to an A. And although it was a relief to know what my diagnosis was, I was actually extremely frustrated. I was going through, the majority of my childhood, 7 years, going through all of these testing, thinking something was wrong with me, experienced this crazy roller coaster of a ride. I was just upset. So, next, one thing led to another. It's time to apply for college, and I'm excited. My grades are better. I have my list of schools I want to go to, and I bring them to my guidance counselor, and I show her the list. And the first thing that she says to me is, Alisa, I think we're going to have to rethink these. I don't think your grades are good enough. And I looked at her, and I was like, what do you mean? Like, why? What are you talking about? And, I didn't want to back down. I was confident, that this wasn't the answer. So I actually used my story as my college essay for all of my applications. And I ended up getting into all of the colleges except for one I was deferred to. So I came back and I started to have this mindset shift. And it was, if someone's telling me that I can't do something, I'm going to prove them that I can. And although, I had that mindset, there was still a very real part of me that still felt that shame, not wanting a soul to know. So I just didn't process it yet, and it was still very much affecting me.
Wow.
Yeah. Gosh, that is so powerful. And I think there are going to be so many people who relate to that. Especially, right, I just want to pause here and overemphasize the amazing point that you just made and make sure that our listeners really absorb it, right? Your mindset shift about not letting anyone tell you that you can't do something, right? I mean, that is such a beautiful reminder that I think all of us can take with us, right, at any stage of our career, regardless of, experience, industry, gender, et cetera. The person who is going to get you through those tough moments is yourself. It is your mindset. It is your belief in yourself. And you're right, there has been this misplaced shame around, learning differently. And I almost said learning disability, but I love during our preparation calls where you actually reframed learning disability into learning difference. And I think that's so important too, right? Because as we all know, through countless research studies and, anecdotal experiences of a success, diversity of thought is the secret to, innovation. It's a business imperative in today's world. And so that, reframe, that belief in yourself, it is just so important and something that I think all of us need to, take with us at all times. But tell us what happened next as you started your career.
Yeah, absolutely. So I was one of those college graduates that had no plan. So
I love that for you.
Yeah, my friends had like grad school, medical school, jobs all lined up. And I was like, I just graduated. I have no clue what I'm going to do. So I knew that I always loved sports. Like that was a passion point of mine. But, I had always heard it's so hard to break into the industry. You have to know someone to get in. And I did do some volunteering through college for the Super Bowl committee and Alonzo Morning Charities. However, like I just didn't feel the confidence that I knew someone. Like that was out of my control. Like I can control my controllables, but like I did not know somebody. So I went into my college guidance counselor's office and I was like, hey, I'm looking to find a job. Can you help me? And as soon as I walked in, there was a figurine on his desk of like the New York Knicks. I grew up a huge New York Knicks fan. So I'm like, oh, are you from New York? And we ended up going down this 45-minute conversation about the Knicks. And then at the end, he goes, you have to work in sports. And I was like, and the beauty of all of this is that he actually had a background in sports. He worked for sports. So we game planned and I ended up getting a shot. And I landed a part-time seasonal inside sales position with the Miami Dolphins. And I learned so quickly, I am not a seller. So while I was learning all of this, I actually picked up a side internship with a local sports and entertainment agency. I went 1 to 2 times a week early in the morning. I went before I even went in for the Dolphins because I wanted to learn a different skill set and I wanted so badly to be in this industry. So a couple months, fast forward, there was an opportunity to help out with the retention team. My hand shot up so fast when they asked for volunteers because I needed a way out of sales. And I ended up being in the top 15% of renewers. And I realized, even though I'm not a cold caller, I'm good at, building relationships and talking to people that actually have an interest in the sport. So that moved me into there. And then as my career started to move and move forward, relationships started to take a really, really big part of my career. Everyone knew, I was a basketball fan. So a colleague of mine ended up referring me to the Miami Heat. At that time, it was back-to-back championships on the way to a three-peat. So I witnessed, not a three-peat, but I also witnessed not even making the playoffs. But I was so happy. This was my passion. I loved being in basketball. And then knock, knock, knock. My old college guidance counselor had landed a recruitment job at FanDuel. He called me to recruit me to be a part of the inaugural partnerships team at FanDuel.
I feel like this is all serendipitous. Like all this talk about like this guy likes sports and we did 45 minutes and then he came knocking. Like, wow, what a story. Yeah.
It was awesome. So, at the time it was just daily fantasy. I didn't know what it was. So I was a little hesitant. One thing led to another. I was moving to New York and I took the position. I was there for 2 years. And then it just got to a point where I was ready for something new. And I actually wanted to explore agency side. So I started connecting, with different people in my network, learning about different agencies. I ended up getting referred to one that was an experiential agency. It was originally called IMG Live, now 160/90 within Endeavor. So think UFC, all of that. That's, the company that there's affiliation with. So I was there for 3.5 years overseeing live events for Marriott, Capital One, and T-Mobile, just to name a couple. And I was there, a pandemic hit, events were non-existent. So I decided to start looking into just to round out my skill set, right? Something that might have been a little bit more digital and where the world was going. So I started looking and I ended up getting recruited on LinkedIn and I took a leap of faith. I went to another agency, learned very quickly it was out of alignment. I was there for about 9 months. It wasn't right for me. At the time, I had moved from New York to Miami and with my parents. So they actually suggested, like, why don't you take some time off? And just me, overworking, making sure no one knows about my disability, all of this stuff. I'm like, what do you mean? Like, to quit and not have a job. And it was such a foreign concept to me, but I ended up heeding their advice and I took 6 months off. I really reflected and really got to know myself. And I came up with kind of 3 themes that were non-negotiable for me moving forward. And it was, I needed in my next role, growth, a challenge, and really great leadership. And then once again, someone ended up coming to me for my current role at MGM Resorts. I was an old partner of mine, and she recruited me to the organization. And one thing led to another, and I was off to Vegas to work in gaming, an area I wasn't familiar with, but it just felt so right. And it's such a fun, interesting industry. And the more that I've learned, it's just been so amazing. So I've been here for 3 years. The journey has been amazing. But while I talk about all of, the movement and my career journey, there was always, the ADHD coping mechanisms that were happening on the side. Because what I actually ended up doing, I took myself off ADHD medication in college. I didn't like the way that it made me feel. The prescription ended up kind of just running out. So I had to start to think about, how do I cope with ADHD without the medication? So while all of this was happening, I'm overworking, I'm compensating, making sure no one knows, I'm also trying to figure out, how do we do this without medication? So I started to implement games. I started gamifying the way that I worked. And that was from, everyday tasks to my work. How many emails can I get out in this hour? Can I get this project completed by this time? And it just became like a personal challenge. And I have actually brought it to I use it to this day, and it's just something that has been with me throughout my entire career and has been, a way to be creative and resourceful with, what you got.
Oh, this is so good, Alisa. And I just also want to call out your amazing shirt, right? You can't win, so win. How perfectly does that exemplify your story, right? You're being told that you can't get into colleges. You're being told that you have to choose different career paths because maybe limited connections, or, right, of course, we know women in male dominant industries in general, right? Just all of these things. And you're not letting any of it hold you back, right? You're told you can't win, so win. And how perfect that you're, wearing that shirt to pull that all together. And your point too about, right, controlling your controllables. I love too, I just want to once again overemphasize your mindset, right, about how you are controlling what you can control, and that's your response to these situations. I just started reading A Man's Search for Meaning by Dr. Viktor Frankl. He's a Holocaust survivor, and he talks about that, right? Forces beyond our control can take away everything from us, but what they can't take away is our response, our freedom to respond. And you've responded in such a beautiful way. And to Kate's point earlier, right, the serendipity of how this is all unfolded because you believed in yourself. It started with you and your mindset. It is just absolutely so powerful.
Love it. And honestly, I think your story sets I'm going to call you fire, by the way, sets a little bit of a fire around, people that have disabilities. There's lots of, there's lots of opportunities now, but frankly, nobody would have known that, right? What you were going through, and whether you hit it for your own reasons or not. I think that's a huge message for people, is that you still strived. Everybody goes through their own things, but you certainly kept a brave hat and did a lot of really fun things. And I would have loved to have your career path, by the way, because that sounds like so much fun. No joke. But I love that you're willing to share all that.
Thank you.
And how you really remolded your identity. You weren't going to let somebody else tell you what your identity was. You weren't going to let somebody else tell you how your life and your career was going to be defined. You defined it by your work ethic and making sure that your character was known, right? I think also during prep, we were talking about the Stacey Abrams quote that I love, right? Like, most who are underestimated, I've learned to overperform. And you've created that identity for yourself around work ethic, and it has taken you amazing places. I mean, it's just remarkable. What do you, what are your thoughts in terms of things coming full circle as it relates to global gaming women? And, you just were invited to join the advisory board of Brighter Kids. Tell us about this full circle, kind of moment you're in where you're able to share this story, the lessons learned, and now give back in these other ways.
Yeah, absolutely. So when I had moved into the gaming industry, it was completely foreign to me. So joining Global Gaming Women has really been everything to get to know the industry, to break out of my comfort zone, and really just network. And if we were having this conversation 3 years ago, I wouldn't be able to have it without breaking down into tears. So when I first started in GGW, I started in Lean In. And on my first meeting was the first time I actually spoke about my learning differences. And I remember crying and all of that, but it's been so pivotal in how much I've grown over the last couple of years to be able to share it. So I've been so fortunate to have that opportunity. I then became a Lean In moderator, and now I'm part of the subcommittee as a member and coach. So it's been really, really amazing. And, I'm an introvert. Like, that stuff does not come easy to me.
You're not the only one.
If I'm completely honest. So, Bronwen, you mentioned this before. It's like the hard work, right? As I navigated through everything, there were 3 things that were most important to me: hard work, integrity, doing the right thing, and getting the hell out of my comfort zone. Like, there's, a question that I've had a lot of mentors or people ask me, what's the worst that could happen? And now I ask myself that. What's the worst that can happen? I asked myself that before I came here. What's the worst that can happen? The lights can go out. I completely bomb this and we're not using it. Like, there's so many things, that could potentially happen. Like, what's the worst? It's not that bad. So I think about that. And then also there's another quote that I really love, which is choose your hard. Like, staying in your comfort zone is hard because you know your potential, you can do more, but the fear of the unknown is stopping you. So what's on the other side of that? It's choosing to push yourself and push for growth. And from that, it's hard, but the other side of it is you have so much opportunity, you have so much growth, there's so much possibility on that. So, like, for me, as I was mentioning, like, I'm not I'm an introvert at heart. I'm never going to be the loudest in the room. I believe hard work goes unnoticed. However, it can also get overlooked. So self-advocacy is so important to have. And, being in this community and speaking to all the way, it's really been a sounding board and been so much as I've made the transition into the gaming industry.
Again, honestly, I think a lot of that lean in circle, I know Bronwen's, a lot of that lean in circle is about teaching you it's okay to be your own self-advocate, right? Because there's all these other women that are going through the same exact thing that you are. You think you're special? No, we're all going through the same self-doubt. We're all going through the same issues, right? So we can get in the same room and talk about it, and you walk out of that room like, I got a little bit of pride in my chest, right? I can handle this, and having that's huge. So I love that happened for you. I love that.
Yeah, absolutely. And Bronwen, I know you also asked about my recent advisory board commitment to Brighter Children. It's so full circle to me. It really is, considering that it's all about education and providing education to those that are most impoverished and don't have access to it. So I got involved in this, and it just spoke so deeply to me, because if I wasn't given the opportunities or being able to figure out, what was going on with me through education, I don't know where I would be right now. So being able to give back and give the opportunity for these kids to have that chance to be the best versions that they can be is so amazing. And I'm so grateful to have, found and learned about Brighter Children, and I'm really excited about it, and I'm excited to even share more as I continue to get further involved in it.
Yes. Oh, that's just so amazing. And thank you for the ways that you're giving back to the community and, the broader world in general, right? Due to the authenticity that you're able to bring to the table. I mean, that authenticity, it's magnetic, right? And I have no doubt, you're going to absolutely keep soaring and be able to give back in so many beautiful ways. And just thank you so much for sharing this. I, personally resonate tremendously. I also have ADHD and always kind of reframe it into a superpower. And I know a lot of other people, especially millennials, have, dealt with a lot of the new experiences when it comes to these learning differences. So just thank you so much. And my favorite way to close out any Spotlight Series conversation before we get into our end of episode rapid fire is to hear about the best compliment you've ever received and how it's really changed and positively impacted the trajectory of your life and career.
So there's one that comes to mind, and it was extremely timely when this happened. So for some context, it was the night of my first event that I was leading at 160 over 90, and I was having incredible imposter syndrome. And I received a LinkedIn recommendation completely unprompted by my former EVP at FanDuel. And he was just very complimentary about how I approach projects and events. And he closed out with saying, if Alisa was on the trip, you had nothing to worry about. I remember reading that when I was at home and crying. And I was just thinking to myself, keep going. You can do it. Be yourself. That's all. That's all you need, is just to be yourself, and everything will be okay.
That's awesome.
That is so awesome. And for it to be unprompted too, it kind of goes back, what we were saying earlier, this serendipity, of this journey. It sounds like there were so many forces, pushing you into that right direction of where you're meant to be and where you're meant to make the most impact. So that's just really beautiful. I love that.
And thank goodness for that guy, right? Like unsolicited, nice things. I will take those all day long, every day. So by all means, like bring it on. I love that. And the timing, you're right. It's so important to give you that little boost that you needed to get over to the next step. Love
and
that.
It was so crazy. It was literally the night of the event. I got home and I had this message. I was like, huh? And I clicked on it and I was like, how do you know? He had no clue that I was executing my first event. No clue.
Crazy sauce.
Love, love, love it. Well, seriously, the authenticity is magnetic, and we're just so appreciative of this incredible story that's going to impact so many. So before we sign off for the end of the episode, let's do our usual rapid fire.
No pressure.
So I know we have, no pressure, no pressure. Sometimes they're not rapid fire. Sometimes they're a little long-winded. Yeah. We get a little excited and overly verbose. But in the spirit of spring, we've got Easter coming up this weekend and kick off to spring, a lot of our favorite times, here in Vegas and across the world. So let's do some spring Easter themed rapid fire. So to get started, pastels or florals?
Pastels, for sure.
I'm going to go florals. Yeah. I don't know. I think if there was an answer D, none of the above, I'd probably go that one. But spring is just like a lot of things that you want to throw up when you walk down the grocery store. It's like candy.
You're saying what's in my mind,
See?
But I thought we had to pick one.
No, girl, just spread the truth. Yeah.
Yes. This is why these are sometimes long-winded.
What about you, Bronwen?
We got excited. Both. I love both. I love both, even regardless.
Does that surprise you at all? Fluffy
Not at all.
Bronwen likes all that. Yeah.
I know. I'm like uncharacteristically wearing black right now. It's unusual, but was not expecting my trip to be extended. But okay, so in the theme of Easter, egg decorating or egg hunts?
Probably decorating.
Yeah, I'm going to go decorating too. I think it's so cool when you watch kids' creativity on those things.
I was going to say therapeutic came to mind when I was thinking about that.
The craziest things now. You can buy like kits where it looks like there's a mask, like a Van Gogh on this damn egg. And I don't know where like...
Do you guys want to paint some eggs?
We should have an egg painting. It's like vision board party. We're going to have egg painting. There you go.
I actually like that a lot. Good idea.
You're welcome.
For me, I would say, okay, I would have used to say egg hunt. I got into those hunts, not even as a child, honestly. When I was like a teenager, early adult, I would run around with my cousins and like, maybe not steal, but just be faster than some of the younger kids. So would definitely used to say egg hunt, but now I would say egg decorating too. Honestly, to the point you made, Kate, it's really the egg decorating vibe has matured. There's too much fun.
Oh yeah, there's like parties. I mean, you can, it's bananas. Although I will say, we added dollar bills to the eggs a couple years ago, and everybody, it's
egg hunt. I changed mine.
Yeah, exactly. It became like Bronwen's family. I could just imagine they're all sitting around like, okay, I got my timer on. I'm ready to go. Yeah. So just add money to the eggs. Yeah.
Yeah. Very smart. Okay. Speaking of eggs, Cadbury eggs or Peeps?
Cadbury eggs. I'm a chocolate gal.
Yeah. I'm going to go D all none of the above again on this one. Like, maybe I just don't like Easter. I don't know. But I'm like,
that's what it sounded like.
I know. I like the jelly beans, like, yeah. So if you're going to get me on Easter, it's probably going to be jelly beans. Yeah.
Yeah. I would agree. Honestly, none of the above. I just picked them because they're the most popular.
See? I love that.
Yes.
Truth and honesty wins.
Girly, so. Okay. So last one, favorite spring or Easter activity?
Ooh. I like just being outside.
100%. I was like, we're like mind melded right now because the weather here is phenomenal in Vegas then. And I just want to sit in a chair and soak up the sun and get ready for summer and watching, like, honestly, I love going to the park in the spring because all the kids are running around and it's like sports. I'm like, okay, this is like nice. Yeah. It's like a little Hallmark movie. I'm into that. Let's do that.
Oh, I love that. I love that. Yeah, my family, so last name Gregg, right? And y'all know how like families will fight over who hosts gets, right, which holiday. And it's always a drama, who gets Christmas Eve and who gets, right, like all of the different holidays. So my aunt, who's more like a big sister, she kind of won the battle for Easter. So we call it Greg's and Eggs, and we have so much fun. And I am so excited to go home and celebrate with
I
them.
can't wait to see this on Instagram when it
Right?
happens, because it's going to unfold into like this Instagram Greg and Egg chaos. Yeah.
Greg's and Eggs. So cute. Well, amazing. Well, Alisa, thank you so much for joining us. Love the rapid fire, love the compliment question, and just love your story. Love your story. And we're just so appreciative of you sharing it. And we can't wait to see the impact that it will have. So thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thank you so much. And honestly, I mean, we always thank our guests, but for those that have to go a little bit above and beyond outside their comfort zone to do this, we really appreciate you and what you're sharing with everyone. So thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you for the opportunity. I had such a great time today.
Good. All right. Well, we'll be excited to stalk you on LinkedIn and see where you go from here.
Yes.